The question is a much more subtle, much more complicated question. And that is, how do you reconcile the fact that he needs it and the fact that he's perfect? So that's a good subject. This is something you have to strain, put a little effort into. So the way I understand it is, all the description in Chassidus of the Eibishter's perfection, Memala kol almim, Seviv kol almim, Kula kamei kol choshev, Bli gvul, Ein Seif. Is that supposed to impress you? Is that supposed to, what is it supposed to do? If it's meant to create a bittul, that works. He's Ein Seif. Okay, what are you going to do? So if it's meant to create bittul, okay, Kabbalah Seil, all right. But a relationship, Ahava, why would you have Ahava? Because he's infinite. What's the Ahava? So one of the ways of understanding it is like this. When we talk about perfection, we're talking about Metzius. Metziusei, Me'atzmusei, Mechuyev HaMetzius, Amitas HaMetzius. The Eibishter's existence is absolutely perfect. He is, and he was, and he will be perfect, yeah? But existence is not enough, even if it's perfect. So when you say a person can have a very perfect existence, like Avram Avinu, but then what's going to be on Yehilu Hariri? So does that mean that there's a chesaron in him? There's no chesaron in him, he's perfect. But perfect needs a tachlis. Perfect is not a tachlis. So to say that the Eibishter needs a tachlis, then how can he be perfect? Perfection has to do with existence. And need has to do with tachlis. So when you say the Eibishter is perfect, the more perfect he is, the more he needs a tachlis for this perfection. So the way it seems to me is, every time we talk about the Eibishter, Hayahu Shmei Bilvad, Ein Eid Milvadei. Ein Eid Milvadei is like an alter bocher saying, I can't find a shidduch. Ein Eid Milvadei is a very sad state of affairs. Isn't that a problem? Ein Eid Milvadei? There's nobody to talk to, there's nobody to... So what was missing? If Ein Eid Milvadei, so what's missing? The Milvadei. So from that perspective, it's not a stir that the Eibishter is tachlis hashleimus and nothing is missing and nothing we do is going to add to his existence, nothing is going to detract from his existence. Now, like children say, if I don't do the mitzvahs, the Eibishter going to die? No, he's not going to die. Oh, so he doesn't need it. See, that's childish. If he's not going to die, he doesn't need it. No. Like they say on the clip, Eibishter doesn't need anything. He didn't even need to create the world. Is that a kasha or a raya? If he didn't need to create the world, and he created it, there must be something really important going on. That's a raya, not a. Anyway, that's something we need to really.
Listen to the class we recently gave. I don't know if I'm quoting exactly, but the relationship that's not based on vulnerability is not love but manipulation. I don't know if I'm quoting, but
yeah.
I think that's the I don't know to say in sprach.
Yeah. If you have love but you're not affected, so the nishne geya, then it's not love at all. Love means the negeya. If you say I love you very much, you're not interested. Okay, forget about it. It's not. If it's not negeya, then it's not love. The only thing is, you can say, and I'm sure the Christians will say, that's by human beings. By the Eibishter is a kol yochel. He can love you and not care about you. A kol yochel. But it's correct.
Shleimus needs a tachlis. That means it's not trying to have a tachlis. I mean, within the Shleimus is superficial.
Is that what?
It's very superficial.
Shleimus is superficial. Not it's a superficial shleimus. Shleimus is a superficial thing. Shleimus is a metzias. It's a condition. What is it for? What is going to come from it? It's a different question. And it's like the raya is a person who has everything. You know, in the perfect, he has everything except children. How does he feel? Does he feel like he's 99% perfect? No, he feels like he has nothing at all. He's perfect. It's not a stupid. He is perfect. But then what do you do with that?
So that means he's not.
No.
What makes him perfect?
His existence is perfect.
What's the purpose of existence?
Adding purpose to the mix is like another dimension. It's a whole new. It doesn't make the existence imperfect.
So why is it that the ventral tachlis is just for existence itself?
What is?
Mashiach comes, the mila of existence for itself without having to do anything to show its existence. It's mila.
If I cared. The way that Rambam describes Yemei HaMashiach is that existence will be completely uninteresting, even though we'll have a perfect existence. Madanim ka'afar, and lo yiyeh esek kol ha'olam elo l'da'as es Hashem.
What's the use of that?
What's the use of that? Okay, call it off. Forget.
My answer to the question is, who cares? I'm not familiar. David created us and gave us Tatum mitzvahs, and we do them. What's the problem with that? What dynamics? Why are you looking at me funny? You look at me funny. Why do we have to ask the question? What difference does it make?
It's not a question, or we shouldn't ask the question.
No, it's not. If you have the question, you have to ask it. And once you ask it, the next question becomes, why are you asking it? And why are you asking it has an enormous bearing on how you answer it. But l'cha'id, it shouldn't be a question. We believe in God. I imagine, yeah. Most of the Ruba de Ruba, yeah.
One vote.
All in favor of saying no.
We believe in Har Sinai, we believe in Mitzvot, we believe in Peish Balpeh. So this is what Eibush taught us to do. So do it. I'm trying to figure out where the question is coming from. The question can come from one of two places. And the difference between one question and the other question has an incredible bearing on what the answer is going to be. Is the question coming from doubt? Or is the question a scholastic question, an academic question, a long discussion? And they're very, very different questions. If it's a question that's coming from doubt, then we have to establish priorities. Ikr and Tofel. Because what the answer is, assuming there is an answer, matters very little. That we get our doubt, our suffix, redeemed, is much, much more important. In other words, if a person has Sfeikes and Emunah, what he needs is Emunah, not Terutzim to Kashas. In the real world, to go from Sfeikes and Emunah to Emunah, you sometimes have to negotiate the Kashas and the Terutzim, but it's never allowed to be about the Kashas and the Terutzim, because all the answers in the world are going to give nobody one drop of Emunah. I hope you guys figure this out in your lives. Sooner or later, you'll discover that if you could answer every question any applicators could ask about anything in Yiddishkeit, you will be not one drop frum. Because we're not frum because it makes sense. Religion is not a science. We're frum because we believe. And our emunah has to be intact. Belief sekes, period. And it's not easy. I'm not going to be so foolish, and it's very difficult to meditate to have emunah, but it's important to be honest about what the issue is. If our issue is emunah, we have to say, I have an emunah issue. Now, because of the emunah issues, should the question be answered? On some level, yes, but the key is that the emunah is addressed, not the answer to the question. If the question is being asked academically, so first of all, it wouldn't be a bad idea if we wouldn't take ourselves so seriously. If I don't have the answer, I'll sleep. Nothing is going to happen if I don't have the answer. And Vashenis, there's answers. That's how I was invited to come here, so I'm here. I'm very happy to be here, but it's a funny question. It's a funny question. So this is my first statement. Let's be clear that we're not asking the question, at least from my perspective. Let's be clear, we're not asking the question from the perspective of Sfeikes and Emunah. Because if we are, we got a real issue, and you don't need answers. Whatever you need. You need a hug, you need a kiss, you need a kick in the pants, you need to almost be in a car accident. You need your emunah retrieved intact. If this is not an emunah question, it's simply a scholastic question, so Torah is believable. It never finishes.
I'm saying, for me personally, I remember I went to a shpia of mine years ago in yeshiva, and I said I was having trouble. I didn't enjoy davening; it was really boring. In LA, it was really long, and I just had a really tough time. So I said, and Emunah, I don't think I had a problem. I said 100% I know, but like seriously, it gets hard for me. Like Hashem really cares. I'm learning how amazing He is. He doesn't need my davening. So like, what's so important to me to do this mitzvah?
Is mamish bothers you?
No. Does it bother me?
Not anymore.
It would be a little cooler. It would be a little cooler to me if the king actually saw that I prayed and really heard everything I said. I didn't really understand that so. So the mitzvah, does he love when I do a mitzvah? Does he really care? If he cared, I'd be more excited. I think so. So it's not a scholastic, it's not a Emunah thing. I'm just saying. Say for me, it could be like
maybe that's the hug.
Yeah, probably the hug.
I have a secret for you. The Eivish that we expecting Mashiach every second. Calls man is a lump of the stadium. He's not giving you an invisible house.
No, I'm talking about that. Does he care? If my father cares that I do him a favor, maybe he won't give me anything, but I'll do it with much more excitement if he really is involved. If it's not just if it affects him, then I probably would have a little more chayes.
So you're trying to create a middle ground. You're saying, I believe that this is the Eibishter's Ratzon. I believe this is what the Eibishter wants. But I don't feel...
I don't know.
What does that mean, I don't know?
I don't understand, I don't feel. The whole point of Chassidus is...
I don't know. Of course I know. The Eibishter told me to do this, I gotta do it. Why is that?
The president made a new law, he has no idea if I follow the law or not.
Huh?
The president made a law.
No.
He doesn't know if I follow
the law. Yeah, but the president's not the Eibishter.
Chas v'shalom, I know, but I'm just saying. That's the question. Does he care? Does he know?
There's two different questions. Does he know or does he care?
I'm sorry. Does he care? Does he care?
So I'm asking you, what difference does it make? He gave you this mitzvah. The Eibishter is not.
Because I'm low.
So he'll do it with more time.
Yeah.
We'll do it with more.
I'm low. I'm a yokel, so I'll do it. I will motivate me more if Hashem cares. Does that make sense?
But I don't understand. If the Eibishter told you to do something, why would you wonder if he cares? If I tell you to do something, do you need to know if I have a reason? unless I'm an idiot, I probably have a reason. I probably have a
It
motivation.
would make it easier for me to get up in the morning to go down if I know Hashem really wants it.
But why would you think he doesn't? Where does the
So
question
amazing, he's so much greater.
But he gave it to you. He wasted his time, quotes, to give you the mitzvah. So where is the question coming from? Verstehe nicht. I don't, if he gave you the mitzvah, Mistame cares. Mistame, I wouldn't have given it to you otherwise. What's the philosophy of his caring? Precisely how he cares?
Why do we learn this at all?
Huh?
Why do we learn this at all?
Why do we learn? This is a very different. We can learn Chassidus that we should feel connected to the Eibush.
That's what it's trying to say.
Whoa, no, that's not the question. The question is what's going on in the Eibush's head. Not what's going on in my heart. And who cares what's going on in the Eibush's head?
If it adds to what's going on in your heart, then
How is it going to add to what's going on in your heart? Why? In other words, either yeah, or then he either cares or he doesn't care. Mistami cares. The Eibush is probably intelligent, yeah? The Eibush is probably not schizophrenic. The Eibush is probably thought through. If he wasted his time giving us mitzvahs, Mistami knows what he's doing. Why is it not enough that he cared enough to give them to me?
It's so easy for him to give it to you, so I'm saying it's very easy for him to give you this mitzvah. So therefore, if you do it, like I'm saying, you can think like that. Like honestly, does Hashem care if I put on Rashi with the Chabad or not? Like he really cares. And why does it make a difference? If he cared, I would pay you
I still don't get why you would think that he doesn't. He's the Eibush.
Exactly, that's why.
Could you imagine the Rebbe? Right? You're not allowed to say in Lubavitch that the Rebbe is not the Eibush, right? But you imagine the Rebbe telling you something, and you wondering if he really cares. Would it ever cross your mind? If I told you to do something, you would think, does he really care? Because I'm an idiot. But a mensch who's real, why would you think for a moment that he doesn't?
Because when you look at it and you see,
What do you see?
maybe he doesn't.
No,
Why did you think that?
I'm sad. That's a very satisfying answer for
No, but where's the question coming from?
Pure seichel is a good question.
Oh, fine. If it's a pure sake of the question, we have to put a context on this question. And the context of the question is, it doesn't really matter what the answer is.
No, because it can have a difference in your person later on, depending on who it is, how the question is answered, because the way your seichel works usually should affect where you're at. How involved in what you do, how you do it, why you do it, etc. Whether you're doing it or not, we're not talking about it. You're doing it, fine. You're doing the mitzvah. Now, the way you understand it, the way you know about it, will affect majorly how much you do it, how involved you're doing it, whether you care that somebody else does it or not. There's a lot of different ramifications that the seichel does affect. But basically, yeah, I think it's a seichel question.
Now, Befrieden, you've been quiet for too long.
I spoke for too long. I mean, all the shilas and chassidus, the whole pilpul, the whole mesechta, is there really a rotzen? Is rotzen at kadmein? Is the Eibishter's rotzen really rotzen, or is it a taiva, or what should we call it? Because the Eibishter is tachos hapshitus, so where does the rotzen come from? It's a subject. And chassidus is relevant. So the shaila is, I mean, and you're asking why would we even have a shaila? Because there are so many indications that he doesn't need anything, or nothing affects him, and he's tachos hashlemus, and these guys were confused over there on the film. So how do we reconcile these things? On the one hand, you say, of course, I mean, if he asks you to do it, mistama, he needs it, mistama, he wants it. But on the other hand, how does vikum tze'em rotzen?
And again, the answer to the question is, who cares?
Chassidus cares, no? Chassidus will masber sein, Yedias Hashem.
Is this a Hasidic question or is it a human question? Is this question, in this forum, asking a Hasidic question or a human question? I would like to believe that it's a human question. We're not just parroting what the books say. Right? So if it's a human question, we need to explore in ourselves why we're asking it, I think.
All these guys are from 770. I think it's a Chassidic question.
Since the question is asked and answered later, many times.
No, so what do you come here for?
Because we don't understand what the answer is.
Where is it asked and answered?
It brings the feeling that you have in Maimonides Chazal, but it says in certain places it says "My Chosela Kadosh Baruch Hu," Sheikh min Atzav, Sheikh min Erev, and in other places it says that mitzvahs do matter, but the shuvah is able to take effect.
And the teretz is?
Depends.
That's the time really.
Exactly. The answer to the is that, and on the level that you're talking about, the saving, the mountain. None of us ever experienced the Atmos or saving them. At least from my perspective, not with Mali either.
And you're going to come here and then you're going to experience Atmos.
No, I'm hoping that someone can enlighten.
You go down to the basement. You need the Tzedek Aliyah. Actually, 770 is also a basement. So what do we have in these handouts? In the Makedus, what do we have? This piece in Torah Sholem, which the Rebbe quotes as a makir, that mitzvahs come from Atzmus. And benegea to the relevance of it, the last words that the Rebbe says, Achakach Omar, on page whatever, 202? On the top, Achakach Omar Kvei Kedushas Had Meshvita, Kol Kavanosi B'Maimer Hazeh, it's about 10 pages, from 190 to 202. Kol Kavanosi B'Maimer Hazeh Hoyo, Al Zeh Ha'inyan Ech Shahakel Negeya Ba'atzmus. Why is that Negeya? Hameves mit Vemen Mahotzaton, Hot Megor Ananda Derech Eretz. So it does add to the motivation. So B'negea to Kabbalah soil, B'negea to Maisa HaMitzvahs, it's like it doesn't matter. If the Eibishter said to do something he doesn't need, we still have to do it. Why would he tell us to do something he doesn't need? But if he tells you lachte weitzim, then that's what you do. Even it's tavin lachte weitzim, we would do that. Aber that's not the case. It's not lachte weitzim. It's Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. You have to understand and have nus beinen sein, and it's not lachte weitzim. So B'negea to Kabbalah, so that's true. But b'negea to Achdus, b'negea to getting closer, to getting higher, to bringing Elokus down Lamata, raising the world up to Elokus, for this, it makes a difference. What's a negeya? Vemen a negeya? How much is it negeya? Or the other said, apes a negeya and atzmus is ananda derech. So what do we do with this shayla? Im tzadakta ma titen li. Everybody's favorite quote. And also, what do we do with them? It's a completely different problem. It's like a human problem. On the clip, he doesn't need, we need. There's something very unholy about that. All of Torah and mitzvahs is because we need. So the Eibishter is just serving us like a waiter, a butler, a messenger. He's giving us, delivering good advice to us, so we're the center of the universe. It's all about us. There's something wrong with that. And I think that's what motivates that philosophy. What do you mean it's about the Eibishter? It's going to be about the Eibishter. What about me? So if you say the Eibishter really needs, then Bittul Ritzencha starts to make a little more sense. Bittul Ritzencha. It's all about me. Because he doesn't need anything. And I do. No, if he doesn't need and I do need, so what's more important? So what does it mean, Batel Ritzein Chav Mipnei Ritzein Nei? He doesn't really care. I do really care. Mele Negei in Leben. And to him it's so that change. What is the Ratzon of the world? My Ratzon or the Eibishter's Ratzon? I think that's what Emunah means. Emunah doesn't mean I think there's an Eibishter. Shkoyach for your opinion. Emunah means his Ratzon is far more important than mine. And that's why if you know that the Ratzon comes from Atmos, it's got under the Derech.
What does one mean for under the Derech? What is?
You're much more inspired and you're much more serious. You take it more seriously.
The Gila Mice is not going to change anything. It's only the way how we're doing it.
Of course it will change. Like when you hear the Moshe, when the Rebbe asks to do something, you do it. Sometimes the Rebbe said, it's a bakosha nafshi. Oh, this is serious. Nah, they don't mess with that. I is a Rebbe. Well, from that way, when he says bakosha nafshi, or like he said about Machan Chana, he asked that we should give money for Machan Chana. And he said, you'll be chesed me that I'm the Gei B'davar because it's named after my mother. I am the Gei B'davar. Oh, yeah, that's.
Not having that rich.
And now that we know that it comes from Atzmos, but in principle, it would add a lot of derech eretz. It should.